The main reason why I'm bringing up this topic is understanding the use of multiband compression inside of mastering and what good can it be. We all know that just like excitement, a multiband compressor can destroy everything that you work so hard for. And we don't want to destroy it. We want to control it. We're going to get into Ozone 9 Dynamics plugin. So in this Dynamics plugin, we're still trying to accomplish a mission. For this plugin, what I'm trying to accomplish is that paper snare sound thing again. We achieve the tonal balance. However, on certain instances, the presence area of that mid band, that high mid area, strikes out like pow, pow, which is not a bad thing when it comes to a snare. But when you're trying to create more body, sometimes you don't want that thing to punch out as much. It breaks the illusion. So this is what we're going to work on. If you feel like it's a problem, and to me, it kind of does just a tad bit. And sometimes I like to kind of compress in the middle section because that's the most sensitive area of our ear, then you may want to do that. However, when I do this, I hone in on what part in the midsection might be posing a problem. So like I said, I'm going for that snare area. I'm only going to touch the mid. That's it, just the mid. And I'm going to isolate my bands just for that high mid presence. See, right there was too much body. We don't need the sparkle. A good way to tell if you have locked on what you need to get, turn the gain down on the compressor. We don't hear that snare no more. Like, if that doesn't make it obvious of that paper sound that I'm trying to get rid of, not necessarily get rid of, but kind of tone and control, then I don't know what to tell you. But let's go in here. So step one, this will be in another compression video I'm planning on making, but I'm gonna give you a sneak peek now. Just alter the threshold. Just start there. If you don't know where to start with compression, just move the threshold. Now the concept is we only need to get the snare. Everything else I don't care about. It's just the snare that I feel like is poking out too much. So I'm gonna set the attack time to where I get the snare right when it gets it. So I'm gonna move it until I miss the snare, bring the attack time until I grab the transit of the snare. When I'm done with that, I'm going to set an extremely long release time because I don't want there to be a big difference in the pumping with the rest of this track. So you want to use a long release time for this. Keep everything else consistent. Let the release of the compressor just do this wave, kind of like this. It grabs the snare and it kind of tries to gradually get up, but not really, but it'll always get that snare. And like I said, I'm listening for that locality. If it goes up here, I'm bringing it here. If it goes down here, bringing it here. So now you can kind of hear how that has settled some of that energy. Then what I'm gonna do is, because it's not that I don't like the high mid presence, that's part of the art of this track. I just wanted to tone down that snare that was kind of resonating a little bit more frequencies than I like. I'm gonna turn up the gain in this area. Because the whole idea is balance. And that's the main goal with this is balance. So I took out that snare, but there's nothing wrong with adding those frequencies inside of there. So I turned it up until it started getting a little bit too much for my taste and settled there. So we took this range of stuff, and that snare that was constantly picking up here, but everything else is kind of right here. We just brought that snare in line with the rest of the high mid frequencies. And now we brought that up back kind of to where I felt like it should have been. So now those high mid frequencies are playing with each other along with the rest of everything that we're listening to. The next thing that's going to happen is I'm going to listen to the other frequencies just to see if we can use the same attack time and control any other elements. All right, so to let you know, the main goal here is to not create any more bands. So I'm going to stick with this mid band. I'm going to listen to these high frequencies. I'm going to see, after changing this, do the high frequencies get sharper or harsher? To me, I feel like we can do something about that. So what I'm going to do is start off with this 9 millisecond and 700 millisecond attack and release time. This way, the compressor on all bands are working at the same time, even though they are going to be reacting different. If we can keep this as consistent as possible, the difference between these crossovers and the separation of the frequency bands is not going to be as astronomical and constantly cause distortions inside of your mix. So I like what that sound is going for, but when I was soloing it, it sounded like the high frequencies were kind of folding back again. Still want them present in front of me, but just not as strident. And then I'm gonna turn it up. See where we're going with this? So let's just check the low band just to see. This is more of an artistic decision. I know I say you're not supposed to really go for the artistic decisions inside of this mix, but this is one of those things where you can determine if you feel like you want the kick and the bass to kind of meld together a little bit more, or leave it as it is and create like this nice separation between the kick and the bass. For this demonstration, I'm going to go ahead and do it just to see if we can, move this mix in a slightly different direction and give it a little bit more bass energy. So since we made that Baxandall boost on the low end, you know, this thing, and then we moved to the exciter and we did this here, it may be a good idea to kind of glue some of these elements. The key here, though, is to not take away from the kick. So when we set this attack time, we're going to make it slow enough, the opposite of the high frequencies. We're going to make this slow enough to where it does not catch the kick, but we're going to set the same release time so that the bass and the sub can ride with the mids. So let's crank the threshold down. And for this, I'm going to turn down the ratio because I think it's doing just a little bit too much. See, that sounds a little bit better. It sounded like no matter where I was placing the threshold, that the bass was always up here and getting smaller. So once I found the sweet spot for the compressor on the threshold, the attack and the release, I turned down the ratio just so it softened the damage control. So if you listen, that the kick kind of takes a little bit of a back seat, just a tad bit, but the overall energy in the low end does come up some. And so that's what I was trying to achieve. It helped make a foundation for this. So now we got all three bands playing next to each other. I'm going to bypass this on and off so you can hear everything in tandem. It's like the mix just rose up here. Now elements are front and center. Moral of the story, mastering is not too hard if you know what you have to achieve and you know the tools that you're trying to achieve it with. With just 3 tools, look at where I have took this master. And it's not as if the Ozone 9 suite is the special suite to use mastering. Between Isotope, FabFilter, Sonable, Sonux, your stock DH, your stock EQ stuff. I mean, even that's fine. PreSonus has a Pro EQ and a Multiband Dynamics channel inside of there. It's nothing different that I use that other plugin manufacturers do not have. So the idea though is where your mindset is when it comes to mastering. You don't need to do crazy things. The only thing you're really trying to affect is anything that you can affect in the mix because of the way the frequencies add together in the master bus. That's what's most important. Or if you received a mix from somebody and they can't go back in the mix and fix certain items. These are the things that you got to ask yourself every time you make a maneuver. Are you doing what you intended to do? And is it really a problem? If it's not a problem, just leave it. Just don't touch it. I've only tried to solve practically 2 problems in this whole scenario. That snare mid-range section and giving some more girth to the bottom end. Those 3 plugins were not achieving anything different but settling those 2 issues. And that's it. And from there, I might decide if I want to keep that back Sandal bass on there because I think there's a little bit too much bass inside of there, and then throw a limiter on there and see how it sounds. And it could be fine for where it is. So if you like this series, please like and subscribe to the channel. If you like me, of course, always like and subscribe to the channel. And if you like content like this, let me know in the comment section below what you'd like to see. If you like to witness any other kind of plugins being used for mixing, mastering, all that kind of good stuff, you know what to comment in the sections below. You guys are great fans. So thank you for helping me in the channel. And till the next video, see you guys.